if you just got to think about like, I guess if everyone's a media buyer watching this, but like the ROAS, right? I would say the ROAT, the return on or time spent. So that's like the ROATs, the return
Ad
on
time.
time spent. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, or Instagram time, whatever it is, the rate. um, I feel like you got to look at the return on your time on a daily basis, and I feel like a lot of people don't understand that time really is money, and
Mhm.
if you are doing stuff that doesn't contribute to your life, not just in terms of like your business, but like family or whatever you care about, then that's costing you a lot of money, right? So that's why I kind of see things. If I see myself, so it does happen, right? You find one cool piece of content on the explore page or some shit, and then that takes you on a trail where you're just spending 15 minutes just looking at bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Then you just have to kind of like have the attitude where you can kind of correct yourself. And I guess that
Mhm.
comes down to your own awareness. Um, but yeah, it's really about just your own personal discipline. And I feel like
Yeah.
it gets easier the more you get disciplined in other areas as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you don't become aware of this until you value your time, and you don't value your time until you actually do shit with that time. Um, Speaking of, like you mentioned one of the things that I mean, I really like this when you said the return on your time spent. Here's a maybe a bit of a curveball. Are there any activities that you engage in on maybe weekly, daily, monthly basis that it cannot be work, okay? That is not work related, but that you think is generally a good investment of time. And the reason why I asked that for people watching this is because, and I talked about this in one of my one-on-one calls with the mentees. I'm like, dude, there's certain things that are not work related, but that you can say yes to because they generally will help you move forward. Sometimes less is more, and the most productive thing is sometimes not to work, right? Or maybe to have that chat that you needed to have with this person, or get out of your head and all the stuff. So going back to the question, are there any like specific things that you do on a daily basis, weekly, that you see as a really solid return on time spent?
Yeah. So that actually is a good point because one of the things I wanted to do when I got out here is sign up to a kickboxing class.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I just like to be active. I feel like if I spend like 3 days and I don't feel like my muscles are hurting, not in a bad way, but like as in you just done some training, then I feel like sluggish, right? And I feel like that affects a lot of things. So I feel like, having some kind of like physical activity can be very important. Those are the sort of things that I like to do. So like as I was growing up, when I was younger, I was always playing like football, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the time. Like that was my thing. I didn't care about business. I didn't give a
Mm-hmm.
I was just football, right? I got to the point where when I was like 13, 14, I had a trial with a professional club, a Premier League club called Fulham. At the
Okay.
time, they were doing decent.
Fulham has a great academy,
Their
right?
academy is very good, very
Mm-hmm.
good. So I was obviously playing for my school football team, and my school has quite a good football team. And I got scouted when I was playing for the team. I was like year eight, so I was probably like 12, 13. And they sent a letter to my house, right? And this tells you a lot about my attitudes. They sent a letter to my house. I saw this like embroidered letter. It just looked so professional. I've never really received a letter. I'm 12, 13. I've never had a letter addressed to me in my life, so I was confused, right? My mom opened it and it basically said like, we received information from your school, your coach in the school, and they invited me to their training ground for a trial, right? And it was like a few months later that the trial was scheduled. The first thing that I did was that my birthday was coming up, right? And I said to my mom, like, can you buy me an exercise bike? Because I need to get my fitness up for this trial, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom still tells me to this day, like, that she was confused. Like, it's kind of weird, isn't it? Like a kid asking for exercise bike. But for me, that's kind of like my attitude when it comes to anything. And I feel like, like if you want something, you kind of have to have the attitude that, yeah, you're going to get it, right? So for me, like when I was younger, football was the thing. If you know me, I was always playing football. Unfortunately, it wasn't something that became a success. I could have been one of those guys that were still playing conference level and all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got to like 16, 17, and I saw all my friends that were playing in academies and whatnot, and I was like, nah, let me move on to another thing that I'm interested in, which is business. So that's kind of thing. I can't remember your question. I know I'm just waffling, but I can't
No, it's
even ask me.
I don't even remember. No, but I like the story, man. I think it does speak a lot about yourself and the fact that preparation is half the battle, right? Like even when it comes to business, the way I see business a lot of times is like we are athletes, right? But instead of working with our muscles and instead of like, playing with a football, right? Like we play with our brain. And so when you're going up against, and it's not always a competition, like you can focus on yourself, but you need to understand that you have to be at peak performance, right? To really perform at your highest level.
Yeah, yeah, 100% agree. And that's something that like I think about on a daily basis. So like when you're thinking about your sleep, right? If you wake up and you're groggy AF,
Mm-hmm.
like that is going to affect your ability to think properly and your decision making. And your decision making is everything with business. So like if you choose one outreach method over the other, or if you're split testing certain things in terms of what you're doing with your business, that's all your brain. Like there's no like magic button that you just press and it just automates everything. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to be able to think. So like I feel like the athlete analogy is makes the most sense for business for sure.